Today, card fighters, we'll be taking a look at my deck of Prism Heart Image Vert for the current format of Cardfight Vanguard Divine Z. Now, Prism Heart Image Vert, if you don't know what this deck is, I don't blame you. It is an older encounter deck that came out in Lyrical Set 4 with a bunch of other encounter decks as well as other Lyrical support during that time frame, and never got any shine to it. Compared to Labrador, Prism Heart Image Vert has none of the access to any of the prior support that Labrador got, as well as not really any decent support outside of its own strategy in future sets. I wanted to give this deck a try because you guys know me, I love trying all the weaker decks and lower tier things, and I was able to come up with something pretty decent. This deck is able to take advantage of all the fantastic generic Lyrical support that they have and some of the best card advantages in the game, as well as the fact that Vert can access her double Persona Ride play for additional power, and we have some of the newer support from later sets to actually improve this deck's consistency and overall attack patterns. Now, I'm excited to get into this deck right away. Before I can do, you guys already know what's coming next. If you enjoy seeing content like this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my newest videos coming out. Now, for our ride line for Vert, we keep it nice and simple here. I am playing the Pure Encounter line for her. The original Prism line that goes with Labrador has no synergy with this deck whatsoever. This is the best ride line to go with Sedna and Aqua, so that you can compress your deck for the additional grade 2 or higher pieces that you'll need prior to going into Vert. Because of the nature of this deck and the way that Vert works, which we'll get into, it's going to be very important to find those key offensive pieces that you can prior to hitting grade 3 or throughout the entirety of your game. Moving on to main deck grade 3s, 3 copies of the star of the show, which is obviously our Prism Heart Image Vert. Now, Vert is making her debut on this channel, so I will read both of her effects. She has 2 on the Vanguard circle that states, Act Vanguard Circle, once per turn, if you do not ride with the card's ability this turn, call Soul Blast 1. Choose up to 1 card from your hand with the same card name as this unit and ride it as stand. If you wrote a card, draw a card. Choose one of your Vanguards and it gets power plus 10,000 to the end of the turn. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it gets continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your front row units get power plus 10,000 instead of 10,000. Auto Vanguard Circle, when this unit attacks, cost Counterblast 1 and choose it to one of your rear guards from return to hand. Choose it to 1 grade 3 or less card from your hand and call it to Rear Guard Circle. Now, Vert herself is a very simplistic Vanguard. Her secondary ability gives you the essential attack by bouncing one of your units back to hand and calling it out. Typical Lyrical strategy, type of attack patterns. Her first effect was what makes her special. Her ability allows her to take a copy of herself and then put it on the Vanguard Circle, which will then allow you to perform a second Persona Ride, sort of, not a guaranteed Persona Ride because of the rulings, or get 10,000 power to herself. Going first or second, this deck has the ability to amass great power going second to match the power of your opponent's first grade 3 turn, or going first, you can get some sort of early game offense going on with this deck with the 5 attacks you can do, along with the additional power she gives herself. She's good on the Vanguard Circle, good for supporting your rear guards, and has beneficial ways of making sure that her strategy is consistently good throughout the entirety of the game, since you can always get back access to Vert for your additional attacks, as well as additional power throughout the entirety of every single turn. Vert's biggest flaw right now as a deck is the fact that there's only 1 copy of her, and this version of Vert is okay, but because the pure power thresholds of everything that exists right now, a newer version of Vert will be needed to actually make this deck a lot better. I think that another variation that can give more power, more attacks, or just better benefits would be something that's needed in the future. But as of right now, once again, this is just a really good, fun deck to play because of all the power that you can amass with Vert. For my next grade 3, I am playing 3 copies of our Moon Nestling Fantasia Adelheid. Now, Adelheid will be our grade 3 target for our multi-attack play, which we'll discuss later. In combination with this card, you can use Adelheid to get one of your back row rear guards back to your hand, amass power, and get a potential 5th or 6th attack. Because of the nature of this deck and the way that it works, Adelheid will be able to bounce back key grade 1 pieces that will go back to our hand when we need it later. Things such as Clear and Eureka, which will be discussed later in their relevancy, will have Adelheid to keep our hand up, get our pieces back, as well as have extra defense or extra power needed at any time period of the game. Now, moving on to my grade 2s, for my first grade 2, I am playing 2 copies of Prism Heart Image Rosa. This is one of the key Vert supports and is also making her debut on the channel. She has 2 effects on the Rear Guard Circle that state the following. Auto, when this unit is placed on Rear Guard Circle, choose a grade 3 card with Vert in its card name from your hand and you may reveal it. If you reveal the card or have a grade 3 Raider Vanguard Vert in its card name, this unit gets power plus 5,000 to the end of turn, cost Counterblast 1, and draw a card. Auto Rear Guard Circle, when this unit attack hits, if you have a grade 3 Raider Vanguard Vert in its card name, countercharge 1 and return this unit to hand. Now, Rosa is our resource management piece of the deck. She also has the ability to get power in the early game and draw additional cards. This is fantastic as since she can bounce herself back to hand, this is another card that can take itself off of the board, as well as give us back one of our key resets that we'll need throughout the entirety of the game. As we've seen with this card, as well as another card we'll play, and our Vanguard Vert, we're going to be using CB quite a bit here, about 1 or 2 every single turn, Rosa being able to get that CB back, potentially by hitting a rearguard or the Vanguard, makes her a fantastic piece for resource management. I just want her at 2 compared to most Vertlets that play her like 4 because there are stronger cards I want to play, and this variation of the deck focuses on doing 5 attacks every single turn compared to playing like a slower beatdown version, which I see a lot of Vert decks still do. For my next grade 2, this is going to be the cycler of my deck. I've decided to play Dazzle and Paradise Prekia. Now this deck doesn't use up any energy outside of Prekia's ability. I think this is the best cycler to have for it. You can use her ability to mass power onto your rear guards, bounce certain pieces back to hand that you normally wouldn't be able to bounce on Persona Red turns, while also having that defensive skill. The Energy Blast effects to draw cards at any period of the game, defensively or while setting up. It just makes this card fantastic for the deck, and it doesn't take up soul like the other cyclers do. For my next grade 2, it is 4 copies of our Loving Pink Francet. One of the strongest lyrical generic support pieces that we have, Francet helps us get back key pieces from our rearguard circle in the back row or front row to set up for the following turn. It's also really strong in the early game, and we all know what this does at this point. Now for the MVP of the grade 2 ride line, we are playing 4 copies of Favorites 1 Floretti. Now Floretti is the most important grade 2 that we have in this deck, but she has a very simple effect which reads as following. It states, auto rearguard circle, when your other rearguard is returned to hand by a grade 3 or greater Vanguard's ability, cost counterblast 1 and put this unit into soul. Draw a card and choose 1 grade 3 card from your hand and call it to an open rearguard circle. Now as you've seen with Vert earlier, Vert is able to bounce one of the rear guards on your board back to your hand and call something else out. This will immediately trigger Floretti, allowing us to target one of the grade 3s that we have in our hand for a 5th attack. This is huge for Vert, as because Vert can maintain her second Persona Ride benefit or her dual Persona Ride power on top of anything that gets called out because it is continuous, come out with Floretti as well as Persona Ride benefit, you immediately have a grade 3 rearguard with 33,000 power on it prior to triggers and effects. Floretti is really important for this deck because she generates the additional soul, gives us the 5th attack, as well as the fact that because of the nature of Vert and the additional power, we consistently always have that to make sure that all 5 of our attacks are hitting great thresholds every single turn. Now moving on to grade 1s, my first grade 1 for the deck is 1 copy of Rainbow Jewel Beast Olpyrus. Olpyrus is the Lyrical cat, and it has the ability to bounce back a copy of your Vanguard from your drop zone to your hand by taking 2 cards from your right deck and putting them up. Because this deck uses up soul, as well as the fact that it's very important that we see a Vert going into our next turn or a Vert during our main phase for the superior riding effect, having additional ways of getting Vert to our hand from anywhere in the drop zone or the deck is incredibly important. And Olpyrus is just another extending piece for that. For my next grade 1, I'm playing 4 copies of Prism Heart Image Clear. Now Prism Heart Image Clear is one of the key support pieces for Vert, and she has the following effects. On rearguard circle, both of them state here, auto when this unit is placed, discard a card from your hand and search your deck or drop for up to 1 grade 3 card with Vert in its card name, reveal it and put it into hand. And if you search the deck, shuffle the deck. Continues rearguard circle during your turn. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Vert in its card name, this unit gets power plus 5,000. Like Rainbow Jewel Beast Olpyrus, Clear essentially is another copy of Vert, but this time we can now exit from drop zone or the deck. That means that any time period we see Clear during our main phase, or our starting turn, or the turn prior to getting our Vert back to hand at the end of turn, Clear, Olpyrus are additional copies of Vert that let's keep cycling this out to make sure we always have access to that dual Persona Ride play every single turn. For my next grade 1, it is 4 copies of the Cooling Heart Eureka. The exact same reason that I played Francet, the bounce back, the additional power. This card is insanely good in the early game as well as really good at any time period, making sure that we can consistently keep seeing those key grade 2 or higher pieces back to our hand. And with cards like Prekia, Francet, and Adelheid, we'll be able to take access or advantage of this card at any time period of the game, so we can bounce this card back to our hand too. And for the grade 1 lineup, for the last card, we are obviously playing 3 copies of our Sentinel, 1 copy of Elementaria. For my Regalis piece, I'm playing 1 copy of Radiance Caliburn. For additional resource management as well as additional draw power in this deck, we are able to get additional soul, countercharge, whatever it is we might need, or just to draw 2. Radiance Caliburn has been the best supporting Regalis piece out there. If this one you don't have access to, the only one I like outside of this is the new grade 3 Regalis piece order. The one lets you counterblast 1, but if you Persona Road or something, call 2 from drop zone. That one's good. I also like Unity in the Sky, that one's cool too. Otherwise, Gradius Grottle is okay as well. I think all of those orders work out well. They all serve the same purpose of getting you more units onto the board or just more cards to your hand in some way, shape, or form. But Radiance Caliburn, having that countercharge effect does come up every once in a while because outside of Rosa's on-hit ability, we don't have other ways of being able to get additional countercharge in this deck, so this is the best option for it. Now finally for triggers, my trigger lineup in this deck has definitely been a doozy ever since I started practicing and playing with it, but I finally settled on going with 7 critical, 1 copy of the blue OT, followed by 4 front triggers and 4 generic heal triggers. Now my trigger lineup in this deck has definitely been all over the place, but I've settled on this because Vert, by the nature and the way that I personally play it, I approach this deck very aggressively. This deck has access to dual Persona Ride, 5 attacks, you have early game cards that are really strong, and the strong early game generic lyrical support. We play Yuika and Francette, which is what it's known for, to get that early game going, get those additional attacks going. This, in my opinion, has just been the best route to go. I think draw triggers are cool, but they don't help continuously amass the power that's needed so that your deck can fight against things like Odium, Levy Dress, Youthberg right now. They're all insanely strong decks. Then on top of that, you were able to bounce back the cards that draw cards to your hand, cycle out the verts, making sure that you hold on to the key pieces that you need. So draws just didn't feel that good anyway, and giving additional 30k to your front row from the vert effect twice, as well as the front trigger, feels really funny, especially with the fact that all of our cards have power-up effects, making them 28 columns already. So the additional 30k to the front row is really good too. Now that you guys have seen my Vert deck profile, I would like to take this time to discuss what the game plan for the deck is. Vert is a deck that wants to go in with her 5 attacks and then use her Vanguard's ability to acquire additional Persona Ride power per attack. You're going to have 5 attacks that have a plus 20k benefit onto them prior to triggers and their own effects, and then every unit in this deck outside of 1 or 2 has a power-up skill to make sure that all of your attacks hit. Your key pieces for your offense is going to be your Flurretti to get your 5th attack, Adelheid or Vert in your hand, so this way you have targets for that ability, as well as your Rosa. Those cards all apply pressure because Rosa, they're not going to let her on-hit effect go through to get the bounce back and the counter charge. Adelheid, because her power changes and she can bounce back one of your key pieces like Opyrus or your clear to your hand. And then Flurretti, obviously, because she gives you the 5th attack. This is the style of play you're going to be going on every single turn, and then while you're thinking about those things, one final note for this deck: every single turn you want to end it with a copy of Vert in your hand. In order to do the double Persona Ride play, you need to Persona Ride first, and then figure out how you get the additional copy of Vert from your soul, drop, or deck to your hand to get the additional power on to that unit afterwards. Now card fighters, this is my approach to Prism Heart Image Vert in the current format of Card Fight Vanguard Divine Z. Let me know what you guys think about this deck in the comment section below and give me your thoughts and feelings on it, any changes I can make to make it better. Let's go ahead and get a discussion going on this deck, and with that being said, I'll catch you later. Peace.